Thank you. It was fabulous. Thank you. Can you all hear me? Am I loud enough? Okay. So, my name is Reverend Christine, and today is my first official Sunday here as your new minister. So, I'm glad to be here with all of you, and I think we're getting a little loud. So,
My bad.
you got it? We're good now? Okay. So today, I thought it would be a good idea to start off with true unity. And so I'm following Charles Fillmore's book, Keep a True Lent, this holiday season, if you call it a holiday, leading up to Easter. But Keep a True Lent, Charles Fillmore's first chapter is titled, The Way to Perfection. And when I was reading it, I thought, what is the way to perfection? And as I began reading it, what jumped out at me was seeking a state of higher consciousness. So I thought, you know what? We're going to go with that today. So I thought the Lenten season would be an interesting topic too, because it's traditional in the Christian churches to follow the calendar of the Lenten season. This is typical. And I also thought there would be some pretty interesting jokes to do with the Lenten season. So I thought I would lighten the mood before we get started and we get really in depth here. So I have a joke I want to share. So a young boy is having a conversation with a family friend. And the boy tells him that he will be giving up his Sony PlayStation for Lent. And the family friend said, "Oh, that's going to be difficult for you. I know how much you like to play video games." The young boy responded, "Not really. We also have an Xbox." Another one I found was, Lent gives us an opportunity to make good on those New Year's resolutions. Right? So, this is the Lenten season. It typically begins with Fat Tuesday, which was this previous Tuesday, and it's followed by Wednesday, which is Ash Wednesday. And people are preparing themselves for Easter. And so it's a period of time, 40 days and 40 nights, that we follow. And so I'm going to cheat today. And I'm going to give you the gist of today's message right now. What people believe in my metaphysical interpretation. So it seems many people make it a habit to give up some sort of luxury during the Lenten season. They may give up their favorite food, their favorite drink, maybe their favorite television show, or an activity they enjoy doing, like video gaming. And in doing this, it takes some mental discipline, right, to give something up. However, I believe that what we are really being asked to do during the Lenten season is to access that higher power in consciousness by giving something up, yes. But that something, in my opinion, is not a luxury item. When we give up negative thoughts that hold us back, they no longer serve us. We give up lower levels of thinking. This is how we can access higher levels in consciousness. That's the message in sum. We can go home now. But seriously, have you ever held on to something for too long? The visual that came to mind for me was a group of people playing tug-of-war over a mud puddle. You know what's coming next, right? So one group's winning, another group is losing. They don't let go of the rope if they know they're going to get dragged across the mud puddle. I guess it's fun to go through it, right? They didn't let go when they should have let it go. Perhaps you too, at one time, held on to a belief that wasn't serving you. I remember a time not long ago where I was told about a new yoga place. I think somebody in this room may have heard this story. But a friend of mine wanted to try this yoga place, and I thought, you know, yoga on a mat seemed pretty easy. It was fun. But this yoga was aerial yoga. So I was was convinced to go along. It sounded like fun. It looked like it would be a great time. And we got to the studio, and there were all these pretty cloths hanging from the rafters, and people are running around trying to find their favorite color and stand in front of it so that's theirs, claiming their spot. And we couldn't wait to get started. All of us were ready to get started. Well, not long into the practice, I learned that aerial yoga was an advanced form of yoga. And there were a lot of instructions so that people would not fall out of this thing up in the air, right? And it seemed to get more complicated with every pose and every maneuver. And at various times in the class, people would get hung up in a pose. And they'd try to maneuver their way around, you'd watch them and be, oh boy, I don't know how, and try to get to the right pose. And the instructor rarely helped people get to the next pose. I think she wanted us to have the satisfaction of attaining that on our own. Well, I got frustrated. I wanted to get to these next poses and they weren't flowing easily, so I became impatient. And I said, I can't do that. There's no way. I'm not going to have that one. It's just I'm going on. And just about that time, I was ready to give up. I was able to get to the next pose. So the belief that I couldn't do it was holding me back from getting to the next pose, because it was mind over matter. And how many times is this the case in our lives? I know everybody has probably watched the show Survivor at some point in time, right? Show your hand if you've watched Survivor. Okay. So sometimes the people on Survivor are trying to win some sort of luxury item. They want to be better for their tribe. They want to get immunity. They want to get all these things. So they may be standing on a plank that's no bigger than the width of a ruler for hours sometimes, just to get the competition and win it. And after the competition is over and they're interviewed, people ask them, well, how did you do it? How did you get through? It was mind over matter. They knew they had to do it if they wanted to win. They had to just change their thought so that they could continue on. I've heard the same thing when they're asked to eat a bug. Mind over matter. I don't see that squirmy thing, it's not there, and they eat the bug. So there's something to that. So when we hear someone say, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, there's something to that. Mind over matter. Renewed in mind, renewed in spirit. Isn't that what the Lenten season is all about? Renewal, rebirth. What do we know about the Lenten season? Well, I've talked a little bit about it. It's a traditional Christian holiday that happens between Ash Wednesday and Easter Sunday. It happens every year in the spring. And what happens every spring? Every spring there are new buds on the trees. The birds begin to sing, the grass starts to grow, people put away the shovels, and they bring out the lawnmowers. Spring is a season of rebirth and renewal. It's a fertile time when seeds are planted and babies are born in the animal kingdom. So it's interesting that the Christian Lenten season happens every spring, where we too are asked to enter into a time of rebirth and renewal right before Easter. Do you think we need to do this every year? Do we need to have this process of renewal and rebirth? Yes, I see heads nodding yes, and why? Why was my question. Why do we need to do this? We need to do it because we forget, and we get busy, and we don't take that time for ourselves to remember, to rebirth, to renew our thoughts, and they can take us down bad roads. Anyone ever get off track and have a friend and remind you that's not appropriate? I see a couple smiles in the room, so I'm sure I'm not the only one who's gotten checked on something. Usually it's a partner or a really good friend that says, I don't know about that. You might want to think on that. And in Charles Fillmore's writings, he reminds us that Lent is a season of spiritual growth, a time for progressive unfoldment, when we can blend and merge our mind with God mind. The way is open for the Lord to glorify us, lift us into a higher, pure, more spiritual state. You know what I say? I love Charles Fillmore, but we got to bring it to today, right? Sometimes the language is a little outdated, and I really need to know what that means. So I interpreted it, and it says, to me, Lent is a time for us to grow in our spiritual awareness. We can grow into a greater awareness of our Christ consciousness when we take time and we make time to connect to our higher power through prayer and meditation. Oh, that's good stuff, right? So now we know what Charles Fillmore had to say. But what does Scripture tell us? In Matthew chapter 4, verse 1 and 2, the temptation of Jesus. You've all heard this one before. When Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness, and then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. Right away, how many people cringed when I said devil? Ooh, right? We don't say devil in Unity. In Unity, we believe the devil equates to negative thoughts. It's a state of consciousness that's adverse to our good. So when Jesus was led up, he was led up into this area to be renewed in thought and mind so he would be ready for what came next. And verse 2 says, he fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was famished. So Jesus was tempted by his own negative thoughts. But he was able to make them good. But it didn't take 10 minutes. It took a period of time. And he was hungry for more good. He was famished. He wanted more. He had a renewing of his mind and his spirit, and therefore he was ready to digest more. He was ready to absorb that good, and he had absorbed it into his own consciousness, and he was ready to bring it to the world.